The mothership has connected. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is what we do on Sunday nights. We get together and have a good time, speak to some interesting guests, deliver some sports takes, have a drink, and be merry. Thanks so much for joining us on another edition of Q&DA Live on YouTube, on Twitter/X, and on Facebook as well. Anywhere you want to watch it, you can watch it completely for free. So we appreciate you dropping on by tonight. Coming up on the program, very, very funny comedian Carmen Lynch. She has performed for The Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert. She's been on the David Letterman late night show. She's been on Conan. She's got a special out as well currently on YouTube. Can't wait to talk to her about it. She's incredibly, incredibly funny. Carmen Lynch is going to join us here on the show in just a few minutes. So stick around for that. A very funny comedian. Also, Messi is just out of his mind these days. Huge match that they had over the weekend against the Red Bulls, Inter Miami. Miami's got the best record in MLS. So we'll talk to Apple TV analyst and former MLS legend, or former MLS MVP, forever legend, Diego Valeri, here on the show as well. He handles a lot of the Apple TV coverage on the Spanish side. He's fantastic. And he's an Argentinian, and so he knows all about Messi, and I'm looking forward to talk to him about that as well. Also, we want to remind you that there is a little Golden Grams action tonight, as always. So send us how you are enjoying tonight's Q&DA Live episode. Perhaps with a beer, cocktail, beverage of some choice, maybe a snack. Maybe you got some playoffs on in the background, perhaps coming up here in about an hour, the Tom Brady roast on Netflix, whatever it is that you're doing as you watch the show, let us know. You can do a couple of different things. You can tweet at me, at Damon Amendo with a picture. Also on Instagram, at Damon Amendo with a picture. Or you can email that to us as well, watchdalive@gmail.com. That's watchdalive@gmail.com. Easy enough. Because now we got prizes. Oh, yeah. Golden Grams is going to be able to provide prizes moving forward. Very exciting for the best ones, okay? Also, Q&DA, where you can send me a question about anything, literally anything. Aidan will pick his favorites. We'll use them later on in the show. I will answer as needed. And the best Q&DA comment or question, also going to earn yourself a prize. Because we got people that have watched the first 2 months of Q&DA Live and been like, we need to be part of this. And so now we got sponsors and swag. How great is that? So send us the comments, send us your emails, send us your pictures, and we're good to go. So where does that swag come from? Well, it comes to us from a company that I love named Last Dive Bar. And we'll get to that coming up here because how about them A's? But Last Dive Bar has been some of the energy, the momentum behind trying to keep the A's in Oakland. It is why I'm going out to Oakland to hang with this crew as they do a reverse boycott a month from now. More on that when we get through that topic a little bit later on in the show. But first, let's do your Furious Five, the first two stories of the night. And there you go, the Furious Five, one of the coolest bunch of dudes ever, old school hip-hop group. And let's start with a player that's becoming one of the coolest dudes in the NBA, if not the coolest. How about Anthony Edwards? I feel like right now we are entering the Ant-Man era. I've said this in the past. Maybe you've heard me talk about it. Anthony Edwards would be my 10-year-old self's favorite player in the NBA. I've always been attracted to the guys that were dynamic, that were exciting, but played for pseudo losers. It's just kind of the way that I've been built. I don't like rooting for the dynasties, the dominant teams. There's no fun in that. I always felt like it was more about wearing the scars. And so my favorite basketball player growing up was not Michael Jordan. It was not Magic Johnson, even though I love Magic. It was not Larry. It was Dominique Wilkins because he was so dynamic. Human highlight reel. The old school Hawks jerseys were amazing, and he didn't win anything. So I felt like that's my guy. Anthony Edwards may just win something here. They take game one last night from the Nuggets on the road in Denver, and we saw what the Nuggets did to the Lakers, And Anthony Edwards freaking did it again. This guy is outrageous. And last night, 43 points against the Nuggets in a 106-99 victory. We are just kind of at a place in time where he is jumping out of the TV or your screen on your phone or your laptop. He's got a great personality. He's gregarious and fun. He doesn't take himself so seriously, but he's also taking over games, so he's got a little killer instinct in him as well. I love Anthony Edwards. And if this ends with the Timberwolves in the NBA Finals, if this ends with Anthony Edwards hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy, I mean, that really cements him as one of, if not the new face of the NBA. We're watching LeBron and the older generation kind of fade now. We see LeBron, Steph, and KD. None of them got out of the first round. Steph didn't get out of the play-ins. And so you just have this void now that needs to be filled by somebody. And who are going to be the next faces of the league? I think Jason Tatum's in that conversation. Giannis is going to be one of those guys for a while. Certainly Jokic is doing it. But the young guys, I think it starts right now with Anthony Edwards. I love this dude. And when they wear those throwback Wolves jerseys, oh, be still my heart. All right, next up, let's go over to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Last night, I said I was going to get together with a couple of the guys, and I said, we got to watch Game 7, Bruins and Leafs. So let's go out to dinner and let's find a bar to go watch this game at. So we were in Manhattan. We went out to get dinner, and we set it up where we were going to go out, have a meal, and then go to a hockey bar or the hockey bar in New York called Canuck. It's Canadian-owned, Canadian-run, and they've got Canadian beer, and I love Labatt Blue, and they've got Labatt Blues. And so I'm like, let's go watch Leafs Bruins Game 7 at the hockey bar. Everyone's like, yes, that's awesome. Great idea. Finish up the meal, go to the bar, and there is a line out the door to get in here to watch it. I said, this is not a Rangers game or an Islanders game or even a Devils game in New York City. You can't get into the bar. That's how much attention there was in this game last night, and it lived up to the hype. So we went next door to another bar. They had the games on as well, and it felt very 90s because their TV in the back where we were, it wasn't HD, so it was like a standard def seemingly, or at least it was like a really bad TV. So I felt like it was an old school watch the game of the bar like in a bubble TV that was hanging from the rafters with like a buckle and a chain. Anyway, the game was incredible. Scoreless into the third period, and then the Leafs score to go at 1-0. And it's like, wow, the Leafs are actually going to do this. They are actually going to exercise the demons. Oh, wait, no. I mean, 90 seconds later, the Bruins tied up, and then in overtime, the Bruins win. And this is about the most predictable ending to a Leafs season ever, because this is how they all end. The Maple Leafs have not been out of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs besides once last year for 20 years now. We got to go back to 2004. Last year, they got out of the first round, beat the Lightning. Every other year, they either don't make the playoffs or kink it out of the first round. This is 8 straight seasons they've made the playoffs. And this was the Brendan Shanahan Shanna plan. This is Austin Matthews. This is, we're going to go for it. We've got organization. We've got a plan, long-term plan, etc. And they have not wanted to veer off course. And it's just more pain. I mean, think about this. An original 6 franchise that hasn't won the Stanley Cup final, hasn't hoisted the cup in the nation's biggest city. They are the Yankees, if you will, the brand of Canadian hockey. And they have none of the winning. And they haven't won since 1967. And now all they do is get to the playoffs every year and lose in more heart-crushing fashion than the next. And this year, they go down 3-1, and it's like, all right, at least they're going to get dumped out of the playoffs quickly so they don't keep putting their fans through more hell. And then they crawl back into the series. They win Game 5. They win Game 6. It's like, oh, my God, this is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to break this jinx. Nah, then they squash you like a bug. If you're a Leafs fan, if you're just a Toronto resident Leafs fan, I mean, how about this weekend? You have the Blue Jays who really suck. The Leafs crush your heart again. And Kendrick Lamar is just going off on Drake with diss tracks. It's just been tough. Just a tough weekend north of the border. The Leafs pain knows no limits. Knows no limits. And you got to change something here, whether it's big pieces off of the roster aside from Matthews, whether it's the coach, whether it's the front office. You've got to do something because you can't keep slamming your head to the same wall every single year. Since 2017, they've made the playoffs every year, 8 straight years. Get out of the first round once. Pathetic. Just pathetic. All right, let's set up our first guest here. She's so funny. She's got a special out on YouTube right now, and I'm going to give you the title, and I'm not joking about this. The title of her special is called Queef Week. She's hysterical, and she has this special out. She's done 2 comedy albums, and she's performed for a number of the late night shows. She's got a huge following as well. She's performed for Fallon and Conan and Letterman, etc. So she's got a heck of a resume. Hysterically funny. Let's welcome in Carmen Lynch, everybody. Cue the music. Here comes Carmen. All right. I'm so excited about our next guest. She has this raucously funny special that's out right now that's available on Mark Norman's YouTube channel. So it's streaming right now. You can check it out, and it's really, really funny. There's multiple times where I belly laughed, and I rarely belly laugh when I watch something on YouTube unless it's really funny. And she also has a special coming out at the end of the month called Carmen Lynch in Espanol. So you might guess who we're going to have on. It's Carmen Lynch, comedian, joining us here on the show. Carmen, how you doing?
Hola, everybody.
Hola.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I thought it was so interesting because I don't know when you began doing stand-up, but the first thing that I saw you do was on Letterman, a stand-up set on Letterman. And I was like, usually somebody who's on national TV, especially Letterman for the first time, you might notice some nerves. You might notice, you hedge this, you speak a little faster. I know just doing this job, what it's like when I'm nervous if I'm in a new spot. And you were so chill and so deadpan. And I was wondering, is that your normal, like low blood pressure, low heart rate all the time? Or were you just camouflaging that?
Oh my God, you knew I had low blood pressure? That's amazing. I really do. Maybe it is the low blood pressure. I actually keep it all inside. I know it looks deceptive, but I was just keeping it all together, all inside. So there were nerves, and I think a little bit of nerves always helps, Yeah. But I just kept telling myself, you just have to be up here for 5 minutes. You can do it.
Yeah. Because I heard you tell the story that when you got the call, you were like in tears. You couldn't believe you got that opportunity. And yet here you are on stage and you're so droll and so sardonic. And it's just like you were born to be up there because it looked like you were not nervous at all. So you were just hiding all that.
I mean, there is a lot of self-talk, like every day. I was like, I'm not going to die on stage, all that journaling and therapy really does help. But from the day that you find out until the day that you actually do it, can be a while. I mean, I've done other late nights and they can range from 3 months from now to a month from now to 6 months from now, depending on what the world is going through. I think that year, the first Letterman I did was the year Obama won. So there was a lot of election coverage. So, I'd had to wait a little bit to get on. So there is also frustration, not frustration, but like, you don't want to have too many, you don't want to wait too long or your nerves, it'll just keep going. You're like, oh my God, let me just do this. Let me get it out, but also having a little bit of time to like kind of let it sink in helps a little bit too.
I feel like it might almost be cliche that great comics all have some type of trauma in their childhood. But I mean, I guess there's something to it. I heard you talk about a back brace that you were wearing in 7th and 8th and 9th.
Wow, you did your research.
Well, I love your stuff. And I thought, boy, that is so instructive of like your developmental years and you're trying to be popular and you're trying to be cool. And then here you are trying to hide a back brace from your friends for 3 years, like right in the middle of when you're trying to be cool. That must have been so hard. Does that experience inform trying to be funny now?
I mean, it is, all of that stuff does help. First of all, it gave me a lot of material. And I did a one-person show about my back brace and getting it off and having panic attacks afterwards, you know, just from keeping myself isolated and just being such an introvert and then turning it all into like speaking in public. It is quite a shift, but it does, you know, I think all conflict builds your character. So I do think it was helpful. And, you know, looking back, I never thought I was going to be a comic. This happened by accident. So if that's what was meant to happen, I guess it was worth it. The trauma and all the therapy.
What'd you think you were going to do? What'd you think your career path was going to be if it wasn't comedy?
I was pre-med in college, but it only lasted 1 semester. And then I became a psych major because I thought I was going to be a shrink. And I'm the one that's going to therapy now. I'm not giving anyone advice.
Seeing it from that side, being the one that talks to the therapist, do you feel like you could have done that? Been a therapist?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my friends and I are therapists for each other. But I think I like therapy, not only because I'm learning about myself, but I like psychology in general. So sometimes I'm like, am I in therapy just because I feel like I'm back in school? Like, right. I just find it so fascinating.
Well, and stand-up comedy's got to be a pretty emotionally difficult business. I mean, because you're looking for the approval in real time of total strangers. And then you're in real time comparing yourself to the people that just came on the stage before you, and then the people that will come on the stage after you. I mean, it all must be a really kind of emotionally rough and tumble career path, right?
Yeah, and even the part about going on stage is probably the easiest part. I think the hardest part these days is the comparison on social media. Who's got more followers? This person started 2 years ago, and they're, you know, headlining this club that you want after 20 years. Like, all of that, the discipline, for me, becoming my own boss was hard because when I first started stand-up, I'd already had a couple of jobs, you know, very like low-key post-college jobs, but I had a boss. So I had to kind of teach myself to be my own boss. So I think there's a lot of aspects to comedy that people don't see where you have to really push yourself and there's a lot of discipline involved.
You're a really good physical comedian. And I think that's in many ways a lost art. I mean, you think about like way back when you're talking about Charlie Chaplin or Laurel and Hardy, but then you have the John Ritters of the world and, you know, Jim Carreys of the world. But then I saw you do Mr. Bean. And I'm like, that is all, it's just pure physical comedy because you aren't speaking. And I'm like, damn. And then at the end of this special, when you do the grand finale on Queef Week, and you're doing the bit about being on the headphones. And this would be the headphones commercial. And like the girl's like bopping her head and like she doesn't hear. And I'm like, that's just really subtly very funny. Have you always been kind of naturally funny from a physical standpoint? Because you talk a lot about how like you're gawky and tall, or at least you were. You're abnormally tall. You're vertically obese. So did you always kind of have the physical comedy part of it?
I mean, I was always silly as a kid. I wasn't necessarily cracking jokes, but I was definitely very like physical and silly at home and with my friends. So some of that is that. I think there's a part of me that has a lot of facial expressions because of my, you know, big eyes. I think sometimes I'm deadpan, but I just show it all in my face instead of in my body sometimes. Like it's just fun to mix it up. And the Mr. Bean thing was Shtick or Treat, which is Mark Norman's, you know, he had this Halloween show where you did an impression of somebody, of a comedian. And I get Mr. Bean all the time. I'm constantly in the comments, like, she looks like Mr. Bean, she looks like Mr. Bean. And my friend Andy Pitts is an amazing impressionist. And he's like, why don't you just go with it? Just be Mr. Bean. And he was on stage with me. If you saw the whole sketch, and I'm doing the whole physical, the Mr. Bean scene where he takes off his pants, but somehow manages to keep his underwear on. And I'm like, oh, I better go running for this because I'm gonna have to show my legs. But it was a good challenge and it was fun. And you forget sometimes you don't have to speak to be funny. You can just use your body. So.
Oh, and that's a power, because when you have an audience that doesn't have to even hear you say something and you have them in the palm of your hand and they're laughing, that must feel incredible. That is just what you're doing from a gesture standpoint that's making them crack up.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And any kind of challenge like that where it makes you stretch and makes you even a little more nervous because you're kind of excited to like do something you don't usually do. I think it's good for you. Good for the soul.
So Jerry Seinfeld's been to the news this week because he basically said, it's really hard to be funny now, that the cancel culture is kind of run amok and, it's really hard not to offend people. And I can kind of understand where he's coming from because there has been a push to be far more sensitive. At the same time, you do humor that's dark, that's can be uncomfortable. Mark Normand, I mean, there's sometimes that I listen to Mark and I'm like, oh, I got to turn the channel because like this is going really, really like in a dangerous place. And I'm just like, I'm kind of want to be lighthearted today and like that. But it's interesting and it's funny. So what'd you think about Jerry's comments since you're in the mix right now trying to walk that line?
I mean, I think everything changes as time goes by. And we do have to kind of adapt. I mean, some things can't be said anymore. Maybe that is good. But also, you can't listen to the super wokes, or we can't say anything. And I think comedy should be open and available for anyone who can handle it, as long as you're not hurting people. These are jokes. And I like pushing the envelope. I like getting darker. I think my next hour, which I'm working on now, is darker than Queef Week. And I enjoy it. I like going to those places where I can't tell these jokes on a late night. I mean, some of them I could, but others I'm like, well, this is fun and it's good for me. And when you get half of the audience laughing really hard at them, those feel like your true fans.
It's so interesting that you're able to do shows bilingually because half your family is from Spain. You grew up in Spain until you were about 8 years old. And so obviously you're fluent in Spanish, and then, half your family's American. So this is where you've been for a long time. And so you'll do shows in Spanish, shows in English, and you have this special coming out at the end of the month, Carmen Lynch in Espanol. And it's interesting because your act, I feel, is very tight linguistically. Like the joke is about a certain word, a certain phrase. It's very sharp. It's very tight. But if you're not completely fluent in another language, it must be daunting at times for you because you're so specific with your words and your writing. So can it be nerve-wracking because you're like, oh, I don't know that language as well as I know English?
Yes. For the Spanish show, I definitely felt like I was studying for a final exam in college. Like I was trying to remember phrases the right way. I was flipping verbs and nouns. It's the opposite of in English. And then I'm used to doing Spanish shows in New York. And so that's mostly Latinos that listen. So their vocabulary is sometimes different from Castilian in Spain. So there were a lot of things I was juggling. But at the same time, it was one of those interesting challenges where I'm like, you know what? I'm only in Spain for a week. If this sucks, I'm leaving the country. And, if people don't enjoy this, well, I challenge myself. But I can even tell when I'm watching the Spanish special that sometimes I do this kind of like grunt, like, ah. And I'm like, am I just trying to think of a word right there? I just can't remember. So it comes out different. I feel like my personality is slightly different. But it was definitely fun to do, and I would do it again.
We'll wrap up with this since we have so many sports fans that watch this show that listen to me on SiriusXM daily, is that you were very tall growing up. You still are tall. You're about, what, 6 foot or so?
6 feet. Yeah, still. No shrinking yet.
You said your dad shrunk, though, right?
My dad was 6'2", and now I'm a little taller.
Look at that. You beat him. But you said you never played basketball growing up because it wasn't cool. But now you've begun to do a little basketball with like your nephew or your niece or something.
My boyfriend's son.
Oh,
yeah.
your boyfriend's son. And you're kind of into it. And so
I love it. Yeah.
there's a huge boom right now for women's basketball, the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. So I don't know. There might be room on a roster somewhere.
I would love it.
You probably still have your college eligibility, so you can go back and maybe play for William and Mary or something.
Oh my God. No, I think growing up in Spain, sports at the time weren't a big thing. And then when I came to the US when I was 8, I remember soccer was the big thing too.
Yeah.
And then I just never really got into sports until I went to high school and I ran track and field. And I even asked our basketball coach in high school, I said, can I try out for the team? And she was like, have you ever played? And I'm like, no. And she was like, well, why do you want to play? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm tall. She just looked at me like, yeah, that's not enough.
It's really funny. Very funny. Well, if we need help in a pickup game for the crew here, I'm going to let you know.
I'm in.
Come down and play in the post for us.
Okay, cool.
Extremely, extremely funny special. I highly encourage this. It is it's really, really laugh out loud funny. Queef Week is right now streaming on Mark Norman's YouTube channel. It's also on Carmen's YouTube channel as well. And coming out at the end of the month, Carmen Lynch in Espanol, which is amazing for bilingual speakers and also Spanish speakers. So check that out. That is May the 28th on YouTube. That'll be on Carmen's YouTube channel. Check it out there. She's got a ton of funny stuff on YouTube and 2 comedy albums and just really amazing stuff.
And it's all on Carmen Comedian. At Carmen Comedian has all the info.
CarmenComedian.com is the website.
Oh, no, sorry. The Instagram.
At
Carmen Comedian. Yeah.
And you've got tour dates also this summer, right?
Tour dates on CarmenLynch.com, or you can go on Punch Up Live. There's videos and links to all my shows on Punch Up Live, but you can go to CarmenLynch.com. I mean, just look for Carmen Lynch.
Just look for Carmen Lynch. You'll find her somewhere. Really cool. Carmen, thanks so much. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fun.
But I did not think when we launched this show that I would be led into having to say Queef Week so many times. But I'm glad we're here. Carmen Lynch, very funny. Appreciate her stopping on by the show. Okay, next sports topic after that conversation is going to be about the Stanley Cup playoffs after we were talking about that Maple Leafs game. Maple Leafs collapse once again in overtime yesterday. But how about at the Preds game recently, you had Taylor Lewan, of course, in Nashville because he's a Tennessee Titan. And he's there with his daughter watching the game, right? And so Taylor Lewan gets put on the Jumbotron, and he's expected from a football player to a hockey game or a basketball game these days, you got to chug the beer. We've seen Packers players do it. David Bakhtiari went viral for chugging the beer. We've seen this a lot. Football players go to another game. So he ends up chugging his beer. Hey, offensive lineman, big old husky guy. He's gonna put it down. He brought his young daughter to the game. They then pan the camera to his daughter. His daughter starts chugging her drink. Okay? So here is Taylor Lewan's daughter. And here she is on the Jumbotron, and she's pounding her little mini cup of apple juice or whatever she had. It was hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. There she is, wearing the Preds gear. And this is what makes the Stanley Cup playoffs so delightful, is that you have fans in attendance, and they are all in. Nobody's sitting on their hands. Nobody's milling around the concourse. Nobody's on their phones. A Stanley Cup playoff game, if you've never been to one, in the arena is so heart-stoppingly awesome, and it's so much fun. I was just watching a couple of minutes ago, right before we came on the air, the Garden as the Rangers took on the Hurricanes in game one of that semifinal series. I mean, and the crowd was just in fuego. Everywhere you go in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the crowds have been awesome. And Taylor Lewan's daughter, she is an MVP. Chug, 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 chug the apple juice. I'm going to have to teach AJ to chug his Capri Sun. Chug, chug, chug. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. All right, next up. How about them A's? I mentioned this in a video this week, but big announcement is I am headed out to Oakland on June the 7th for the reverse boycott. Two fan groups, Last Dive Bar and the Oakland 88s, are bringing people together, and we're going inside the ballpark because, of course, you have this narrative that A's fans don't care, and it's an empty building, apathy, so that they have to move the team. And it's just false. And I've tried to chip away at that false narrative for years now because I always knew that there was a really good fan base there, but I had no idea just how many, just how passionate until I started talking about the A's, and A's fans reached out to me on social media, email, etc. So the first part of this is don't look now, but the A's are at 500. And I said this before. This thing with Sacramento going and playing in a minor league ballpark for a minimum of 3 years was a joke. Still is a joke. Will always be a joke because, you can back your way into the playoffs being just a few games above 500. And I know that John Fisher and Dave Kaval are actively trying to make a terrible baseball team so that doesn't happen. But how about the A's, with by far the lowest payroll in baseball, had pulled themselves to 500 as of yesterday? And imagine playing a playoff game in a minor league ballpark that seats 10,000 people. How embarrassing that is. So it's such a funny major league narrative now, and Major League the movie, where the owners wants to move the team. So they strip the team down to the nuts and bolts. There's nothing left on the roster. This ragtag bunch of guys actually ends up pulling it together and winning. I mean, it really is Major League's Cleveland Indians. It's incredible. So keep your eye on the A's because they're not just the worst team in baseball by design. They're competitive, they're plucky, and they're actually around 500. That is the backdrop. I mentioned this fan group, the Last Dive Bar. They're so cool. And ever since I started railing on John Fisher, we've chatted in the DMs, emailed back and forth, etc. And they said, we love what you're doing on Sunday nights. We love this show. And they said, how can we be a part of it? So I was like, that is awesome because I love the stuff that you guys do. And now we're welcoming on Last Dive Bar as an official sponsor of Watch DA Live. How about this? How cool is this? So for those that don't know, yeah, they're a fan group and a fan organizer, but they also have amazing apparel. Go to lastdivebar.com, their website, and they have t-shirts and pins and wristbands and glassware, all in support of the A's and calling out the con that is the nonsense of John Fisher. And so check out these t-shirts that you can get. We're here, the Last Dive Bar, and the Disney lettering. Going to Vegas is just dumb. They're just hysterical. They've got a great sense of humor, and their stuff is great. So they wanted to be part of this show. And I'm going to go out there on June the 7th for the reverse boycott. And so I said, okay, if you want to be part of the show, how can we make you part of the family around here? And they're like, can we give gear away? And I said, absolutely. So every week up until I go out there June the 7th, so there's 5 shows counting tonight up until that weekend show, which I will do out in Oakland, we'll be giving away tons of swag. We're giving away tons of t-shirts and pins and stickers and everything. I mean, check out these t-shirts. I don't want to open these up because they're going to be yours one day, but this is one that has just the trough, the urinal trough from the Oakland Coliseum. They revel in the fact that the Coliseum's so gross. It's like theirs. It's their Last Dive Bar. Baseball's greatest dive bar is the Coliseum. So they're kind of using that and mobilizing with it. This says the Anti-Fisher Baseball Club. So I've got larges and XLs. And so we're going to give away a bunch of these t-shirts and prize packs every week up until I leave a month from now. So if you're interested, what you just got to do is hit us up in the comment section, okay, or email us, watchdalive@gmail.com. You can send a picture of what you're doing, what you're drinking, what you're eating, how you watch the show, how you enjoy the show, your favorite moment for the show, whatever. Aidan will choose the best comment. I'll choose the best email or DM or personal message that I got each and every week, and we'll send out prize packs throughout the week for the next month plus, okay? So thanks to The Last Dive Bar. They're killer. They're awesome. They're just really good dudes. And they've been on a quest to get this box truck back. It's another crazy scandal controversy going on in A's land, which is hysterical, but not so hysterical. And there's this box truck that said rooted in Oakland on the side, and it was used by the A's to kind of like summon support within the community when the Raiders left and the Warriors moved over to San Francisco. Well, Last Dive Bar wanted to find this truck because it kind of like went missing. And then it was on social media in this guy's yard. And they went over there and they said, hey, can we buy it off you? And this guy says, no, because I've been hired by the A's to get this thing running, and they're going to donate it to Make-A-Wish. So, of course, my guys at The Last Dive Bar are like, hey, that's great. Make-A-Wish is for terminally ill children. No doubt. We want to support that. Finally, the A's did the right thing, right? Turns out they look and the truck is for sale at an auction online. So the A's look like they were lying about donating it to Make-A-Wish. Unbelievable. And the A's had confirmed that they were donating to Make-A-Wish, and then suddenly it's on an auction website. Unreal. So anyway, never a dull moment with them. I can't wait to go out there. If you're in the Bay Area, June the 7th, Friday night, the reverse boycott, I'm going to be out there going to the A's game, and Watch DA Live is going to be live from Oakland that day. I'm doing this show on a Friday before the big game. And then I might do a Sunday night as well, but there will be an edition of Watch DA live from Oakland before that game, which is going to be badass. All right, one more note here as we get through our sports headlines. The WNBA had a hero, and they come in all types of shapes. But, huge attention to Caitlin Clark's debut and Angel Reese's debut. And they're just right now in the preseason of the WNBA. Yeah, that was quick. These women wrapped up their college careers like 10 minutes ago, and now they're already playing in the WNBA's preseason. Well, the WNBA said that they were going to live stream Caitlin Clark's debut and Angel Reese's debut for the Chicago Sky, 2 different games. So people are like on the WNBA app or whatever, and they're looking for the live stream on YouTube, and there is none. The WNBA had screwed up. They weren't ready for that. They were going to stream Caitlin Clark, but not Angel Reese's first preseason game. So there was a fan in attendance named Allie for this game, and she was like, you know what? I'll just stream it live on Twitter/X. Really? She had 500,000 views of this. 500,000 views. This Allie, and she just held her phone up the entire game. The stream is 2 hours long, and she just held her phone up the entire time. Could you imagine how tired your arm would be? Could you imagine doing that for total strangers? She's not making any money, I don't think. It's just a live stream on Twitter. I mean, unbelievable. The WNBA should give her season tickets for life because 500,000 people ended up finding this live stream to watch Angel Reese. First of all, think about WNBA height now that's that well downloaded or watched or viewed. 500,000, unreal. But also, Allie didn't have to do that. She saved your butt. Unbelievable. Holding up the phone, whole game. She didn't put it down for commercials when the, halftime acts, timeout. No, nothing. She just held it up for 2 hours, going side to side with the action. Unreal. The hero of the WNBA. All right, time now for our next guest, okay? And Messi is on fire. Leo Messi plays for Inter Miami of MLS, and he has taken the field for Miami over the last month and just crushed it. And people thought maybe he was over the hill, Of course, last year he was a sensation for MLS, but now it's next level. He's just carrying this team. And Miami has the best record in MLS. They can't lose. And he scores in every single game. They just played the Red Bulls over the weekend. They dominated the Red Bulls. I think it was a 5-1 final. He scored. It was just, he's a magician. And so we had the chance to catch up with Diego Valeri. Okay, now Diego was a Portland Timbers legend. He's the best player in their franchise's history. He was the MLS Cup MVP when they won the Cup. He was the MLS League MVP, and he's a total MLS legend. And now he's working for Apple TV on all the broadcasts. Apple TV has this great package where wherever you live, you get every single MLS game. There's no regional blackouts, no local blackouts. You can watch whatever. So if you're a fan in Twin Cities, in Houston, in Oakland, whatever, you can watch every Messi match, which is amazing. So on multiple devices. So it's a really cool thing for soccer fans. So I wanted to catch up with Diego and ask him about Messi Mania in year 2 and how Inter Miami can't lose. So please welcome Diego Valeri joining us tonight here on the show. Very cool. Strike up the band. Here's Diego. All right, our next guest was an MLS MVP back in 2017. He also was an MLS Cup MVP. So he came through in the biggest spots when it mattered most during his MLS career. He's a Portland Timbers legend. He also is now a match analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And if you're a soccer fan, specifically an MLS fan, this package has been awesome because it has exploded all of the games and exposed you to all of the teams, no matter where you live, for every match of the MLS season. And where else can you be besides right in front of the TV or your laptop, your computer, your smart TV, what have you, watching Messi these days? Because Leo Messi's Inter Miami squad has the best record in MLS. They're in first place in the East and first place overall, so they're leading the Supporters' Shield standings. And he has been on fire since he has come back and played with them. And it's just, once again, Messi mania all over MLS and all over the country. Games are sold out. They're packing football, NFL stadiums for Messi. His jersey is everywhere. Kids have gone gaga over him. So wanted to delve into this surging popularity of Messi and his second season in MLS. Joining us here on the show is Diego Valeri. Diego, how you doing? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm doing great. Ready to talk about, as you say, the boom of MLS and Messi, of course, in MLS.
So let's just start with this overwhelming popularity that surrounds Messi here in the States. Of course, he's an international star, but are you surprised? Have you been at all surprised at just this incredible wave of Messi mania that has hit here in the States since his arrival?
I'm not surprised about it. Obviously, last year, 2023, was a big change. Was a historic year for Major League Soccer with Messi's arrival, of course. But, thanks to our partnership with Apple TV, with the chance of watch every single game that he plays, so every single game of the Major League Soccer, that simple, with in a simple location, with no blackouts everywhere. It's just amazing. It was a very special year because of it. And Messi's arrival is just matched with the Leagues Cup tournament. It was a unique way to compete with Liga MX teams and MLS teams that Inter Miami actually won it. That won that tournament. So I wasn't surprised because I've been here for 10 years and I've seen the growth of the league and the game in the country, and the fact that Messi decided to come to this soccer, to this place and compete and enjoy it. It's obviously because he sees that it's a perfect place to do it. And actually, every year it's becoming better. And last year we had the announcement of San Diego FC coming into the league and with a lot of potential there. So it's just As I say, it doesn't surprise me, right? And it's probably the best moment in the history of the soccer in the U.S.
So, in a previous MLS lifetime generation, about 15 years ago or so, is when David Beckham came here to play. And that was met with huge pomp and circumstance, tons of media attention. So, I'm wondering, in your estimation, having seen both, what to you is the difference, if there is a difference? I mean, has Messi's arrival here at MLS been different? Has it been even bigger than Beckham? How would you compare the two?
I think the timing is different because the structure of the league is different, right? When Beckham arrived to the league, it really attracted the soccer world to the country, but the league didn't have so many clubs, so many competitive rosters in the clubs. So that was a big change. But now, it's the best moment in terms of the competition, right, of the league. So you have very even level in every team. They can compete in CONCACAF against Mexican teams. They can compete internationally, and they have every roster. They have superstars like Messi, Suarez, or Busquets, or Jordi Alba, or like Shaqiri in Chicago, or like Insigne in Toronto. But then at the same time, you have young guys, young players that are really talented. The academy systems are well developed, so the structure is way better. So that's what I say is unique, and it's probably the best moment in the history. And obviously, Messi's arrival for young guys, right, that are attracted in MLS, it's a special because he's a role model, as a professional. So I think it's the best moment in those terms, and it's different in terms, obviously, of the viewers, right? Because the MLS is way better than in 2007. So I think it's really special, and it's key for the prestige of the league in the future.
Finally, Messi is one of the best players of the world, if not still the best player in the world, according to many. And so he's a total living legend. Why did Leo Messi decide at this point in his career to come to MLS? He had options. He had many, many wealthy options, huge salaries that could have been thrown at him across the globe. Why did he decide to play here in MLS at this point in his career?
I think in a similar way, when I arrived to the MLS, it was because I wanted to compete and enjoy the game. And I think it's the same. It's the same for him. He wanted to keep competing, being a World Cup champion in that part of his career. He wanted to keep competing, a good place for his family to live, right? And he looked at the league and said, I'm going to enjoy, right? I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to compete. So when he looked at the level of the teams, obviously he decided for both, because the competition and because he wanted to enjoy the game and, look at his family living in a great place. So I think it's that combination of things.
Leo Messi to Inter Miami. The best record in MLS. The season's now underway. The summer is going to be awesome. Let's see how this thing unfolds for Miami, Messi, and the rest of MLS. You can catch every single match of the season on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Soccer fans, it's right there all in one place for you. MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. He's Diego Valeri. Diego, thanks so much for joining us. Truly appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Cool to have Diego Valeri join us here on the show, and good stuff to talk a little Messi with him. All right, final point on the Furious 5+1. How about the war of words between Kendrick Lamar and Drake? This has been taking over timelines, social media all weekend long. Kendrick Lamar and Drake clearly have bad blood going back a while, but this week it went to the next level. They're just dropping diss track after diss track of one another, seemingly almost in real time. And Kendrick Lamar is just from the top rope, dropping elbows on Drake like every half hour. And these are ruthless, absolutely savage takedowns of one another, but specifically Lamar on Drake. And we're talking about illegitimate children, and that one of Drake's kids could be fathered by his business manager, and leaks coming out of Drake's camps and all this type of stuff. It is savagery. And I was thinking about this. What's the sports equivalent of this rap beef? And I thought it's it kind of feels a little bit like Steelers Ravens, which was real bloodlust back in the 2000s, 2010s. Two teams, every year they met, it kind of felt like winner that survived could win a Super Bowl, that those were true rock fights and blood feuds. But I thought, yeah, but that doesn't work because there's actually mutual respect between the two. After games, you would see some of those guys shaking hands. Certainly now, in retrospect, they look back and, it's like tip of the hat, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Ben Roethlisberger, etc. So I thought, what's a sports rivalry that is true hate that they actually still to this day are bitter and they could never get over it because lines had been crossed? I thought the only one that really came to mind for me was Pistons Bulls back in the 80s. And the fact that the Bulls simply could not get past the Pistons. And eventually, when they finally did, Isaiah took his team, stormed off the floor, and didn't allow the Bulls to celebrate in front of them when they finally swept them in 91. And I thought that's the type of thing that clearly both sides still hate. The Last Dance focused it on that. But I mean, Jordan and Isaiah still obviously hate one another. And Jordan will never let that go. And the Bulls still hate Isaiah and those Pistons teams. So I feel like that is one sports rivalry that will never die because lines have been crossed. And so Drake and Kendrick Lamar feel like we're going down that road because some might say, well, this is good business for both, but it's so personal. I don't think it's business. I think that this is cruelty and they're looking for blood. They're out for blood. All right. So check this out. Like I said, Last Dive Bar, we got this cool gear to give away. And the Last Dive Bar is actually working on giving you guys a code for 15% off at their website. So when all that is set up, I'll let you know. But how cool is that? Last Dive Bar wants to hook you guys up and be one with the family around here. And so I've got some stuff that I want to talk about here with a Q&DA and a Golden Grams. Okay, all that good stuff. First up, it's kind of on the idea of have a drink at the end of your weekend with us here on the show. The other night I was thinking, it's just nice now that the weather's nice everywhere across the country to go outside and completely relax. I mean, just totally exhale from your day, your week, what have you. But certainly at the end of the day, I love going outside on the deck, outdoor chair, what have you, and just totally decompressing, even if it's for 10 minutes. And I had myself a cocktail and I thought, we should celebrate the outdoor cocktail in the summer where you just totally decompress. And here it is. I'm usually a bourbon guy, but this is a little mezcal. So I had mezcal, 1 cube of ice, and then just a spritz of seltzer in there to give it a little bubble. And very good, very smooth, very nice. I thought this is like an exhale. It's like an exhale cocktail. Okay, so that's my Golden Gram. And I left my phone. Well, I did leave my phone in the house because I had to take this photo. But what I did was I took the photo of it, and then I swiped my phone into airplane mode, and I just set it aside. I just sat there with my thoughts. I said, this is so nice. Because you're constantly, even if when you go outside, you're looking at your phone. You go outside, you're always like scrolling something, texting somebody. I said, let me just swipe this into airplane mode, set it aside, and just for 15 minutes, just sit out here with just the birds and this cocktail. So I want you guys to do that too throughout the summer. Just take a moment, take a beer, go outside. It could be a mocktail, seltzer, whatever you drink. It doesn't even have to be alcoholic. Swipe your phone into airplane mode or leave it inside. Maybe take a photo and send it to me so we can put it on Watch DA Live and just do the exhale cocktail. Clear your mind, make you feel so much better. Everybody's so anxious. They're always in their phones. Summer is here. Let's just enjoy it. The exhale cocktail, my gift to you. I'm giving you the green light to drink. How nice is that? Okay, time now for a little Q&DA, okay? And the first message I want to read is the coolest message that I've gotten in a long time. And this message I actually got on Instagram via the Instagram messages. And this is from Nick, okay? And I hadn't seen this for a little bit, and then I finally got around to looking at more of my messages, and I said, man, this is so nice of him to write. So this actually was 2 weeks ago. Hey, DA, I know you don't know me, but I've called and tweeted into you guys on Twitter, and I came across your videos and wanted to reach out. I started listening to the DA show about 2013 or 2014 and absolutely loved everything that you guys did. From the daily sports takes, Mraz in Central Park having birds eat off him for an hour, Bogues reading Stunt to a News, and the many 12 DAs of Christmas. You guys always had such a positive vibe and a fun show. I was even lucky enough to win a couple of the beer koozies and got a shirt from your show a couple of years ago. I stumbled upon an old video of Little Mo and immediately thought of you in the show. You guys are such a positive, funny, and inclusive show, and I'll always appreciate what you guys did. Even though everybody has gone in different directions, I just wanted to say thank you for helping me develop my passion for sports, making me laugh, and letting me be part of a great community you guys and friends built up. And that's from Nick. So that meant a lot to me because, we still have Mraz and Bogues join us here on Watch DA Live. And, we'll continue with that. All of my friends will always be my friends. All of the guys that I really trust and men and women that I've worked with that I love dearly will always be part of my life in this show. And this is a great show for me to bring everybody together from all of my career, 20 years now in the business, and friends and family, etc. And it just really means a lot when somebody reaches out and says something like that, because my vibe has always been to use this platform to bring people together to feel good, because it makes me feel good. And I love to be the one throwing the party. I love to be the host. I love when other people are having fun and laughing. It gives me a jolt. And so to hear from somebody that it really helped and gave them that means the world to me. So I want to give Nick a last dive bar prize pack. So we're going to hook Nick up with that. And I thank him for that message. And I thank all of you for coming together and doing this. Myself and Aidan, and we've now brought a couple of other guys into the mix to be part of this team. We're all so grateful that you guys come together and do this every Sunday night. We get just such a charge out of it. We see the numbers, they grow every single week. They've always been really good from the moment that we went live after the Super Bowl. Aidan and I were like, wow, there's people here. It's really cool. And we're incredibly grateful for that. And so it's nice to hear that it gives you guys a good vibe, gives you guys good feels, and that's what I'm here for. I've been incredibly blessed in life to be able to have a microphone in front of me. I try to take that really seriously without taking myself seriously. And Little Mo is always going to be with us as well. And he was the angel that came through this show and still, looks down on us from above and laughs at all the silliness that we still do. And I hope that you enjoy the show that I'm on currently as well, SiriusXM mornings. I think we have a ton of fun, just like my CBS crew and all the guys and gals that I work with. Babchick and Lou and Britt, they're great. They're really funny, really cool people that care about the show as well, care like I do about listeners. So very cool to hear that type of message, and I appreciate it a great deal. I know my guys here on Watch DA Live appreciate that as well, because we want this to be a place that everybody comes together and enjoys themselves on a Sunday night. And when we know it's happening, it makes us feel like it's all worthwhile to put the work in. So that was awesome. All right, Aidan, I'm going to cue you up now, buddy. Little Q&DA. You run through some of the comments that you're seeing, and I'll try to do my best answering all of them, okay?
That sounds good, DA. We are checking in with, first of all, Matt, who says, I think that we should do a reverse boycott on Patrick Beverley doing a podcast. Do you have a thought on that fiasco from earlier this week?
It is incredible the type of delusion or blind spot that some people might have. I mean, for Patrick Beverley, that might be your last minute in the NBA. And you spent that last minute in the NBA throwing a basketball at fans, first a female fan, then a male fan from like 10 feet away. And then afterwards, being such an idiot about everything that you're saying, I'm not going to even listen to your question or allow you to listen to my answer unless you're subscribed to the podcast. That has never been a prerequisite of any media scrum I've ever been involved in. And if beforehand you said, hey, everybody that's in this scrum, please be subscribed to my podcast, then I'd be happy to talk to you. That would be ridiculous, but at least you would let everybody know. Instead, in the middle of answering questions, you're like, are you subscribed? No, then you got to get out of here, is a joke. So Patrick Beverley is delusional. He's aggressively stupid. And it's probably his last minute in the NBA, the last relevant minute, and you spent it like that. I mean, think about wanting that to be your exit. Clown, total clown behavior. And yes, I would reverse boycott any podcast that he is doing. I certainly will not be one of the subscribers, so I guess I will never be able to ask Patrick Beverley a question, and I am totally okay with that.
Just don't disrespect Milwaukee, because if you've listened to the DA show, you know my history with Milwaukee. I'm not a Bucks fan, but I appreciate the city, and it made the city look bad. So that's all. Curtis checks in and asks, DA, are you a trucker hat kind of guy? I thought this was interesting.
I am not. I am a more relaxed fit cap kind of guy. I always felt like trucker hats, you needed a certain type of head. My head didn't fit a good trucker hat. I don't know why, but I always thought that I looked really stupid with an elevated front part and the mesh back. Now, I do have 2 mesh backed hats. They're both Carhartt hat that I wear out in the yard or what have you, but they're kind of relaxed fit. I just think it fits my head better. So this probably stems from when I was young. Like, I grew up in the 90s when a lot of hats, having a lot of sports hats was a thing. You'd wear a different one to school every single day. I mean, I must have had 25 to 30 hats. And if they were beefy, my head looked so stupid. It looked like a little pea head. So I think I've always been very cognizant of the shape of my head, and it has to be a fitted or a relaxed fit hat.
I always laugh at the rappers that try to pull off that trucker hat kind of look and make their head look small. None of those relaxed fit hats that you wear to like you wear, like I wear to play golf. They're not in style with the rappers. It's fun.
I know. Or kids. No.
Or kids.
No.
It leads into Ralph's comment, which was, this is the year of the diss track. And it just begs the question a little bit more. And this might be a slight question for myself about your Kendrick versus Drake Furious 5, because I've had plenty of conversations about it the last couple of days. And I wanted to ask, is it similar to the movie Rocky 1, where, yes, Rocky sorry, spoiler alert, the movie's been out for
50 years.
50 years. Rocky loses that match to Apollo, but he goes the distance with him. And Kendrick Lamar is almost winning, regardless of if you say this track was better, this track was better. I mean, I can throw up the list again of just the amount of sheer content that we've gotten in the last week or so between literally the end of March and the beginning of May. And if you're looking for my take, Not Like Us, I think has pretty much wrapped things up. I'd be surprised if Drake comes back after this. But my question is, ever since Rocky 1 kind of, all right, wow, Rocky's really on the map and he went 15 rounds with Apollo. Kendrick's going 15 rounds with Drake, who's the more historically well-known artist. It seems like as the rounds keep going, it's a disadvantage to Drake.
Yes, exactly right. If it was 1-for-1, it looks like Drake answered the bell. The longer it keeps going, the more tracks Kendrick Lamar just keeps dropping. It becomes a dog pile. And now it's almost like let him up for air. It's becoming a rout. It's Kendrick Lamar by like 50 right now. So you're right. The longer this thing keeps going, the more that he's just really putting distance between himself and the competition.
When you get yourself in a rap battle, it's a battle of lyrics, right? And I know you appreciate that. Kendrick Lamar is, and I've defended Drake for a while, but I woke up today and said, this is not the day to defend Drake.
No.
Almost like our, LeBron versus Jordan classic one-on-one. Oh, who would win? First of all, who's the greatest of all time? And second of all, who would win in one-on-one? And people try to say, is that the same question? Is that a different question? Kendrick Lamar probably beats Drake in one-on-one, even though Drake probably has a higher commercial following. So it's a situation that I don't think he wanted to get himself into.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to put it.
There's another sports comparison for you. Back to sports. John had an interesting take on your A's Furious 5 point when he wrote that the A's are playing with house money. They don't have any of their own. Everybody is expecting them to flame out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the A's were picked to be dead last, supposed to be terrible. They're a bunch of young guys and they just don't care. And it's really cool to watch. And it's totally a spirited group. And I'm really, really into going out there because I just can't wait to meet everybody and to vibe out the Coliseum. I've never been to a game at the Coliseum. I actually been to a Warriors game at Oracle before it was Oracle. It was way back. It was like late 90s. I went out there for a game. One of my good friends from college is from the Bay Area. So we went out there when we were on break one year. We went to a Warriors game. So that's back when they were terrible and they still filled up the place. But I've never been to an A's game in the Coliseum. So wish I could have gotten out for a Raiders game before they moved. But I'll take an A's game with a reverse boycott and the beers will be flowing.
I cannot wait to be on hand from home and hear all about it. And that leads us right into our last comment of the night. Again, based off a Furious 5 point about your WNBA point. And our good friend Moist Pork, this is one that made me laugh the most when you talked about Allie, who had her phone up for 2+ hours streaming Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso's debut. The one line that Moist Park came up with straight to the point was, "That's just great battery life for that phone."
It's really elite battery life. Really, really elite. My battery would not have lasted 2 hours streaming the whole thing. There's no chance. So yeah, maybe Allie had a Mophie, some type of external battery as well, but that is absolutely correct. Elite battery life. And I'm not sure if you saw this, Aidan, but Moist Pork sent along what he's doing as he watches the show. And he's got a little cocktail Glenlivet going on. I mean, Moist Pork.
Let me pull that up.
Okay, because this is a good Golden Gram that we got from Moist, who's watching the show. Check this out. He's got a really nice setup. He's got the show on his laptop on his table. And then he's got the bottle of Glenlivet. He's kind of hanging out, dimly lit, winding down into Sunday night. It looks like a really nice, kind of quiet way to wind down the week. So I love this. And Moist is he's got his cocktail game strong. So check this out. This is the view from the Pork household. Now, the best part about this is that Moist Pork's real name is Moshe Plotnick. And once upon a time, Mraz was reading his name off of Twitter and called him Moist Pork. Now, that's quite the stretch, but he went with it. That's how funny Moist is. He just went with it. Like, okay, that's my name now. So this looks good. Good job by Moist. And I think maybe with that, we're going to have to send him some Last Dive Bar apparel as well. Because I know the guys at LDB, they want to make sure that we hook up our loyals, especially the ones that send in some pictures for Golden Grams, etc. So I have to hook up. Let's hook up Moist with a prize pack as well. I could just imagine Moist sipping Glenlivet with a Oakland Coliseum urinal on his shirt. I love that. Also, Kristen in Buffalo is like one of my favorite chefs ever. She actually sent me a picture on Twitter as well, and she made steak tacos and festive sides for tonight's Golden Grams because of Cinco de Mayo. She says, happy Cinco de Mayo to the whole crew here. So how about this, Kristen? Nice job. That looks delicious. And she's just crushing it from a cooking standpoint, and everything that she makes looks so good. You can follow her on Instagram at Particular Plates. And there you see her on Twitter as well. There's her handle on Twitter/X. So she's the best. She's made food for us before in studio, and it's awesome. And hopefully you guys had a great Cinco de Mayo. Great Cinco de Mayo. How about that? So we had a good show again today, and every week it feels so much like a part of what we do. Aidan and I usually chat on Monday morning. We have a team of people that we have behind the scenes kind of working on this thing. And then we come to the weekend and I'm like, can't wait till Sunday night. I can't wait all weekend. I can't wait till Sunday night. So it's all because you guys make this place special, and thank you for doing so. And I know that social media sometimes can be a toxic place. And we were talking with Carmen Lynch about Seinfeld and about, how everybody's worried about being, offensive or offending others and whatnot. And it can be kind of like vile and angry out there. And our group of people, whether it's on my radio show or this one here to Watch DA Live, always just tend to be great people. They just tend to end up being fun, funny, cool, chill, not aggressive, not angry, not any of that. And I love it. So thank you for being who you guys are, because it makes this so much fun. So thanks to everybody behind the scenes on this one, specifically the Marquette Marvel executive producer, Aidan Hatton, and for the whole gang at Last Dive Bar. Thank you for being a main sponsor of the show now and hooking our listeners up with swag. That is so cool. I can't wait to send out some gift packages to our listeners this week. Thank you for that. And once again, you can go to lastdivebar.com. We're going to have a promo code Mothership that you can use for 15% off. They're going to get that up. I don't want you to do it yet, so I want to make sure that it's up, and then you can bang that and save some money at lastdivebar.com on all their apparel, which is great, but they'll have that moving forward. So remember that code Mothership, and when that is activated, I'll let everybody know on social media, okay? Remember to subscribe to this channel on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube at Damon Amendo. That way you'll get the notifications when we go live, so you don't forget on a Sunday night. It'll just be on your phone or what have you, or on your laptop. And when I do a DA deep dive as well throughout the week, we put together the videos, and I put together the videos and put it out during the week, and those are a lot of fun as well. So thanks, gang. Have yourself a very merry rest of your Sunday night. Have a great week. I will see you on the radio tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern time on SiriusXM channel 82. And I'll see you in Oakland Friday, June the 7th. Reverse boycott time. Yeah, let's do it. All right, everybody. Have a great night. I'm DA, Damon Amendolara, and the Mothership is today.